everybody, here we go! Up to Neverland!
The views expressed on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Recovery Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this episode should not be taken as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guests. KHLT and Take 12 Recovery Radio are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. Well, greetings, my friends. I am the Monty Man from Take 12 Recovery Radio, and this is the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. And now, here are your podcasting broadcasters, Tom Williams and Alicia Martinez, to introduce this week's show.
Welcome welcome back to the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. I am Alicia Martinez in California, joined by and with Tom Williams on the East Coast and Monty Man, who is on the West Coast with me. How are you guys?
Chipper.
Super. Okay, so we have to ask you, what is up with the Peter Pan theme song?
Okay, so you got it.
Well, it was so funny because I was watching Alicia's face during it, and I could see, I know her well enough to know she's like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, so what we just played for the listeners' sake, listen to it here again real quick.
You can fly! We can fly! Come on, everybody, here we go! Up to Neverland!
I only knew it was Peter Pan because he said Neverland.
Okay.
I gave it away. And flying, I guess, maybe, but...
That comes from the original cartoon from Disney. I think it's called Neverland. And that, of course, was Peter Pan. Okay, so the whole idea of Peter Pan is really interesting because Peter Pan was a young boy who, for whatever reason, decided he did not want to grow up. So he ends up in Neverland, where you never grow old, right? So Peter never really matures, and he's we think of Tinker Bell as being mischievous, but Peter was kind of a mischievous guy too. But he never really grew up. He didn't want to grow up. And the topic for this episode is what, Alicia?
Emotional maturity. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, it's something that Peter really wasn't too interested in. It's interesting to note, though, the name of Peter Pan. He's actually named after the god of fear. It's where we get the word panic. And the pan flute, right? Every time the god of fear would play his flute, that meant something horrible was about to happen. So it's interesting how Peter, this kind of a hero of children, is actually based in fear and immaturity. And I just thought that was really some interesting trivia there as we launch forth on this topic. What do you think, Tom?
Wow, you learn something every day. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm totally going to tell
Very
someone else
interesting.
that. I love that. Well, Alicia and I were talking about it yesterday, emotional maturity, and then we launched into emotional intelligence, and then we both said, like, what's the difference? And there is a difference. But emotional maturity, and then how does it tie into the 12-step program that we teach? And how does it tie into a relationship with a living, loving God? And how does that help our lives? And what does it look like to be emotionally mature and have emotional intelligence? I've been told I have really high EI, now emotional intelligence, but that's kind of seeing other people's emotional display and being able to manage it and being able to pick up on what people not so much on my own side, as you guys saw before the show. I am still working on it. I get buttons pushed, and, poor me's are part of emotional immaturity.
But then it's mature of you to even say that and notice it and work on it in step 10, right? That's just an ongoing process.
That's good. Yeah, so wait, I think we should, let me start with reading this definition. I think this will help.
Maybe
You guys
both
may
of
know.
them.
Yeah, I'm going to read the definition that we found it yesterday, right, Alicia? It was,
The intelligence one or the maturity or both?
it's both. It's the difference between.
Okay.
So it says this: emotional maturity and emotional intelligence are connected concepts that carry distinct meanings, though. Emotional maturity refers to overall emotional development and stability, while emotional intelligence involves the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions and the emotions of others. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify and understand your and other people's emotions, while emotional maturity is the ability to apply your emotional intelligence knowledge in an appropriate way based on the situation and people involved. If that's not a complicated thing, I don't know what
Well,
is.
one is like knowing and noticing and being aware of, but then with maturity, you have to go up and take action and know how to deal with all of it and act appropriately.
Yeah,
How would you-
emotional
I mean, that was
intelligence,
a-
right? It's the ability to see the things and understand people's emotions. Then maturity is how do you deal with it once you know it.
So you really need to have both working with each other, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, you can
Go ahead,
have
Alicia,
emotional intelligence without emotional maturity, but you probably can't have emotional maturity without emotional intelligence.
Well, that's a good. So, how would that
think?
look? You're just giving me an example. Like, I could be very emotionally intelligent as far as I get where you're coming from. I know why your feelings are that way, and then just hammer you. You're no, and that would be emotional immaturity. I wouldn't. Yeah, I figured it out. I get why you're the. I've identified your emotion. I've identified mine, and then I've drawn a line in the sand and decided, whatever. Right? Which is what
Yeah.
most people do, I think. I think emotional maturity is harder. It's harder because it means restraint, and it means compromise, and I think it means we have to act in love, and we have to shake off the poor me's, and we have to recognize someone else's position. I
Do
don't
you
know.
think you're
Right?
an emotional, mature person, you guys? Monty, do you think you are one?
And what would your wife say?
Yeah. Not perfect, but would you generally think that you are? That's what she would say.
Yeah. I think that I am a lot more emotionally mature today than I was 26 years ago when I put
Well,
down
I think that's the main
booze.
point is that we're progressing, right?
Well,
We're getting better.
Yeah, let me chime in here. So okay, so I met a guy. He was a student at the residential treatment center that I worked at for years. And this guy, he smoked a joint one time. He was not an addict. He smoked a joint one time in high school. His parents caught him, and so off to treatment you go. So he found himself in the middle of all these really hardcore addicts, right? And so it was a very emotional time for him, but he was over the top. And so if he was assigned a chore, let's say to clean the grease traps in the kitchen, and he was fine with that, but if you said, hey buddy, I need you to go over here and sweep this corner of the room over here, instead of do this needs to be done right away. It was so difficult for him to make that switch that he would just start crying. And he would cry at the drop of the hat. He would cry if we got his, if med call was late. He would cry if he had to go to work at the thrift store. He would cry. I mean, he was just. And one day I was I was actually assigned to him as his recovery coach, and I'm listening to this guy talk to me, and I'm like, I know this kid. It was me. I was looking in the mirror. This is who I was before my recovery, during my early recovery. You know, I would if Tom and Alicia, if all three of us decided, you know, hey, listen, this Saturday, let's all go to the beach and just hang out at the beach. And you both said, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Let's check our schedule. But you hadn't gotten back to me yet, and you didn't show up at my door. I'm hunting you down. I am hunting you down. Why didn't you follow through? We had plans, blah, 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 blah. And because this really happened. I'm my best friend. I'm hunting him down, and he's playing tennis with a buddy of his. And I'm like, hey, Larry, what happened to our plans this week? Well, we said it was a good idea. We never actually sealed the deal, like, you know. And the other guy goes, what's this guy, your mother? You know, and it crushed me. I was so emotionally immature, and I thought everybody was that sensitive. I thought everybody are supposed to be, right? And this kid that I was working with, I thought, man, this is who I was. And I think this is what Dr. Alan Berger calls emotional sobriety. And it was Bill Wilson, what Bill Wilson referred to as the next frontier. The steps were the first frontier, the traditions were the second, the concepts were the third, and then emotional sobriety. But he never got to really expound on it like he wanted to. And that was the ability to be comfortable in your own skin regardless of what was going on around you.
Not easy, but
not easy.
I'm like Alicia said, and like I'm realizing now, you know, I just went through this process, which I was talking to you guys about, which doesn't matter, but it was a uncomfortable meeting, difficult, and it pointed to things that I took personally, and even though they weren't all made personal, they weren't all, and it was all a business thing. But for me to get off of it, and you feel what you feel, guys, right? So I don't push that away. But what I did do was reframe it and understand, why am I being pushed? You know, that was my main question, is why am I being pushed? And you know what I've gained from our program is, what is it about me that I need to change because of this? Where were they right? And where do I need to make a change? And that can still be uncomfortable because you could not want to do it. Like I said, I would rather run a program than fundraise for it. But the bottom line is I'm going to have to, those kind of things. But I really do value this part of our program where I have been taught by this system of the steps to only look at myself most of the time and be able to figure out why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's the only way I'll make a change. And it doesn't always mean I'll make a change, but at least I know what's happening, and I'm less likely to blow up or react, which I don't do as often anymore, or hardly ever, really. Anything consequential, you know what I mean? Like a really consequential display of emotion. You know, venting is not the same thing. I think you need to be able to do that, but I don't know. Does that make sense to any of you guys?
Well, let me ask you a question, and Alicia, too. I'll just say what's happened to me. I learned how not to outwardly display my frustration, let's say.
Yeah.
First I learned how to do that. But I had to go further, because when I simply did not display it, it went somewhere. It went inside, right? And now I'm carrying it around with me and all day long, and then Marcia comes home from work and says the wrong thing, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? And she had nothing to do with it. So then I had to learn how to deal with it from within as well. And you know what happened? That part in the big book that says we cease fighting anything or anyone, including alcohol. We cease fighting anything or anyone, period. It hit me like a ton of bricks, right? And something happened. I cannot pinpoint the day that it happened, but there's things today, guys, I don't care. I just don't care. I don't have time to care. It may concern me, but it's not going to consume me. I cannot allow it to consume me anymore, inwardly or outwardly. I am not where I need to be, but I am nothing like I was before. I look at that guy, that student that I had at the residential program, and I saw myself in him, but I did not recognize him anymore. And that was 100% due to the power of God through the application of 10 and 11. I'm telling you.
And it's exactly when you were talking about your wife or being mad or stuffing things. It's, for me, I have an example I can give in a second of just like acting differently now. I feel like I'm emotionally mature. Tom will probably laugh, but I think I am.
No, I think you are.
I think I am. And sometimes I act emotionally mature and I think, wow, because I can realize from when I was in my addiction or even newly recovered, I would not have acted like this. And it's so awesome to like feel it. Like I am getting better. Step 10 really works and step 7 worked. And it just shows evidence of that, especially for me, because I'm with my husband the most. And just communication with him is different because I used to stuff and hide and resent and passive aggressive and blah, blah, blah. And now, I mean, it'll come, but I'm emotionally mature to realize it. I don't want to keep that in. I'm going to have a conversation with him. And then I do. And it's like, wow, I'm actually communicating. Because that was the number one reason why I started drinking when I was 15, because I could not communicate to people. I'm afraid of people, and I'm awkward, and I still am. Tom can attest to this. But I can't drink now, or I don't choose to drink now. I don't choose to hide in the food. So I have to learn to be uncomfortable and communicate, or not. But it's just amazing for me just this week to see me communicating and my husband seeing it because he knew me before too. And it's like, I'm growing.
Well, give us your example. I think I know what it is.
It's partly probably of what you know, but we read the Bible every morning together and then discuss it. I was kind of in another haze and not really paying attention because of gaining weight. And I'm in a fog and really struggling with it, actually, but I'm working on it. And so actually, after we read, we discuss things, and I have all these questions. But on Monday, what day is it? Yesterday, I didn't have many questions because I'm in this fog. And he was annoyed. I thought he was annoyed with me because I wasn't engaged. I wasn't remembering, and all these people's names in the Old Testament. It's just like, I don't always get it. And I thought he was annoyed. So usually I would just stuff that, and he's annoyed and I'm afraid. But when we were done, I said, and it took every ounce of me to say it, are you annoyed because I didn't blah, 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 blah? And he was able, because he was holding his own stuff. He actually had a really hard conversation with his daughter the night before. And so he bring that in, and then I bring mine in, and we were able to, it was like, it wasn't even about reading the Bible. It was about other things. And if I was resentful, passive aggressive, it wouldn't have come out. And we weren't even fighting about what we thought we were fighting about. And that did not happen a couple years ago. Ever. It would just pile, and then something else would pile, and it was just a mess.
I think you said a key thing there. It really wasn't a fight. It was communication, and I think communication avoids. There aren't fights when you're communicating, and
it could have been a huge deal,
right?
And it wasn't.
My friend, who I am spending a lot of time with these days, we don't really fight very often, and it's because we talk about stuff a lot. So it doesn't ever get too far down the road with it. And so it's a key.
It takes emotional maturity.
Yeah. And I, want to always gaslight. I always want to be passive aggressive, and because I'm not getting messages, I'm just not going to send messages, right? Because that'll show them, and it never does show them. It just because it anyway. I think those are awesome examples. I mean, I know you had another thing you were going to do last night, and you were afraid of the reaction that you were going to get.
But I did it.
But you did it because you said to me, but I have to. I could not do it, but I have to tell. And that's emotionally mature. It's emotionally intelligent. It's knowing him and you and knowing that it'll all be better. Even if there's a blow up, the blow up's better now than in even a few days. It's always worse when it's waited.
Right,
That's
right.
what I have found. It's always worse. Now, that's not to say that in a heat of emotion, you don't sleep on it and wait till the next day. Sometimes that is definitely a good thing to do to get that your line in the sand gone. Because once a line in the sand is drawn, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I'm kind of pivoting a little bit. It's going here. When I feel like I've drawn a line in the sand, I want to be careful because I've stopped listening. And now I'm not dialoguing, I'm discussing, I'm winning an argument. And you've missed the other side, and it's not emotionally mature or intelligent.
Right.
Does that
I
make sense?
agree. 100%. And I think that line in the sand thing, so check this out. This is a tool I've used. You know how in the columns in the big book, the first column is, who's the person or what happened, right? So I take it a little further. I go, okay, so my friend and I thought we had made plans to go to the coast. And he didn't show up when I thought that he was supposed to show up. So then there's this thing that I do. I think it's called an unenforceable rule, demand, or claim we put on each other. So the unenforceable rule is, hey, Larry, you're not allowed to be my friend and be a flake. You're not allowed to. That's unenforceable. And what that makes me is emotionally dependent on him behaving the way I think he should in order to be comfortable in my own skin.
That is so
That's
Requiring. You touched me to the core.
yeah. So
I do
It's not because
I
I'm
do
so
it.
smart. This is one of my mentors, Dr. Berger, is the one that taught me this stuff. And when we put those unenforceable rules, demands, or claims on people, resentments build. And we build them, guys. Nobody gives us a resentment. We build them all by ourselves. We do it just fine without the help of anybody.
So go back to that situation, Monty, and how would you relive it now being emotionally mature?
Yeah. So he didn't show up. Okay. So now I'm the first thing I'm going to be thinking of is he okay?
Yeah, which we never think, right? We think,
No.
why is the son of a you-know-what
Yeah. Why didn't he show
done
up?
this to me?
I wonder if he's okay. Maybe I'll pick up the phone and check on him. And if he said, oh, Mont, I really never really made that plan, I'd be, okay. I get it. I probably had an expectation there, and it's fine. Maybe next week.
And then next time you make plans like that, say, what time and where am I going to meet you?
Yes.
Right? So that
Don't
would be
make
our
assumptions.
part.
Right. And
Yeah.
then here's the key. Even if you do make those plans
It might not happen.
and it happens again, I'm still responsible for my part. It's back to step 10 and 11, right? I'm still responsible to see my part in this. What can I do to change it? Now, look, here's the thing. We all walk on an emotional tightrope. We all do. And it doesn't mean things don't hurt us. It doesn't mean you can't tell somebody, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Because you do feel that way.
Right.
Or you shouldn't hurt, or you shouldn't be angry. Yeah, but to what degree does it knock us off our center?
Yeah.
I can be hurt, I can be angry, I can be frustrated, but once it knocks me off my emotional center of gravity, now that's on me.
But you could say, I think you could say, I'm really disappointed and I really
Yeah.
was looking forward to it. And then say he does it again and again. Then I think a bigger conversation might be needed. Like you've
Yeah.
canceled on me 3 times in a row. Then you can set a boundary or find another friend or,
Yeah, I think at that point it's okay to say, hey, Fred, or whatever his name is. The last couple times we made plans, you didn't show, and is there something going on that? I mean, am I doing something, or am I, Oh no, I'm just being a flake. Oh, okay, well I'll tell you what. When you'd like to go to the beach with me, give me a call, and I'm ready to go.
Right.
But I'm going to go ahead.
Stop reaching out to him.
I'm going to make some other plans. It's like guys that I sponsor. If they flake off and it comes to a point where I need to say, look at guys, I love you, and I know that this doesn't seem to be working out. When you're ready to actually sit down and look at these things with me, I'm here for you. But my plate's full, and I got somebody else over here knocking on my door wanting me to sponsor. I'm going to go ahead and say yes to them.
Right. And I think communicating your clear boundary and position is okay to say,
Sure.
let me tell you about me. And I say this to people, when Tom says on time, Tom thinks 10 minutes early. So just so you guys all know, that when I say come at 1 o'clock, I really mean 10 of 1. But you don't know that if I don't tell you, of course. But
Right.
I really mean that. Now, the other thing with the repeated person is at some point I would say to them, okay, we've made an appointment to meet at 1 o'clock. And there's something that's happening. By 10 after 1, if I haven't heard from you, I'm going to do this to move on. Please don't be upset about it. That helps me because I need to be able to move on. And I think that's okay to do.
I think it is. I think it's all in the approach, though. Tone of voice,
Right.
timing.
The tone of voice could be, if you're wrong and you screw me, you're right, you got to be careful.
Yeah, right.
Now, I wanted to take this to another level because you said, and tell me if this is like the one notch up. You said you can't, the unenforceable
rules. You're not
Rule.
allowed to be a flake and be my
You're
friend.
not allowed to be a flake. What happens when they don't even match their word? So then you get them to commit, right? Somebody says, I promise I'll be somewhere at such a time. We can't even enforce them enforcing their own word.
Right.
And that's like the next level. You're like, but you swore. I asked you to promise because you don't. And you swore you'd do it because you promised me. So it's not just we're going to meet. And I promise.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't even let them get that far. If they said, hey, listen, I promise next time, I'd say, you know what? That's not necessary. That's not
Let's
necessary.
do it.
I don't
Right.
need you. I don't need your promise. I'm going to hope that you're going to be there at 9 a.m. for coffee or whatever it is. And if you're not by 9:10, I'm going to go ahead and leave. So I love you, and it's okay. If you show up, you show up. If you don't, you don't. I hope you do. I hope you do. But I got a life, bro. And I'm going to.
Yeah, that's loving. I don't feel that's offensive or anything. But someone could feel that you were being mean.
Sometimes it doesn't matter how you approach it. Someone's already going to
Be upset.
We've all done it too, right? It doesn't matter how you approach it to me. I'm already ready to fight, We all got a little larceny in us. We all do.
Then there's people who can't be anywhere on time. No matter what they say.
Oh, I have people like that
I think
around
we need
me.
to, but that's so then again, I'm looking inside. What am I going to do when this person says, which I have one of these people in my life, I'll be there at this time.
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever is that the time. So
I hear you.
Tom knows it though now. And there's no, even if it'll be another 5. It's never, ever, ever that.
So you have to let it go, or you need to
Shame on
drop
you.
that person.
Shame on you.
Well, what I do now is I don't get myself
Yeah.
aligned with that. Like,
Right.
I just, and I'll say this too. I don't think this is so hard for someone but they're sitting next to you and say, I'll be home by such a time. And you say, well, you won't be. And that's
Well,
my
that's kind of
passive
a
That's a little
aggressive, I guess.
snarky there,
That's
isn't
a
it?
dig.
Then I'm trying to teach them, but we're just people learning. So give me a little grace.
I
and I'll
think
say,
it is
do you-
okay if
Do
you
you
have a
know
conversation.
that you tell me that and you're never here? And that hurts my feelings. I want
Exactly.
you to know that every time you say a time, you're never there. How does that, this is how this makes me feel. So I'm just telling you, you won't be here at that time. And then, I just don't, now I don't rely on you because I'm just going to go ahead because you're not going to be here at that time. So many times that you burn, but this is not is that emotional maturity that I just know and then I pivot and make sure I don't get hurt by it every
Yeah.
time?
Yes.
I guess that's what I do.
And you have
So
to
Alicia,
accept them.
you're gonna say it was okay to what?
Well, I was going to say, but then he did it. I was going to say it's okay for you to have a conversation with this person
Yeah.
and say, I notice every time, although every time is, but most of the times when you say you're going to be here, you're late every single time. What's going on? And,
I think if this is time number 3, right? If this is time number 3, maybe I'm going to go to my buddy Fred and say, "Hey, Fred, this is the 3rd time you said you were going to be here, and you're like a half an hour late. And I'm wondering, is there something I can do to make it easier for you to be on time? Can I help you figure this out? Because it is kind of screwing my day up in my schedule, and I do have other things going on. So I need to figure out what to do. I've got other people that I'm working with it. Okay, help me help you." And if he says, no, I just promise next time I will be. Yeah, maybe we'll see. But let me know if there's something, or give me a call. Let me know if there's something. And then if he does it again, whatever your limit is, if he does it again, then it's okay to say, this isn't working out. And, I'll tell you what, where I live. If you want to get together, give me a call, come on over. But we're not doing this anymore. Because it's like, fool me once, right? Fool me twice, fool me 3 times. Then shame on me. I'm setting myself up now. So setting boundaries is fine. I don't think we ever want to shame the person, though. We can be firm without shaming them. I love you. This doesn't change the way I feel about you, but this isn't working out right now. So let's not do this.
Okay. Then this is probably one point where I'm not emotionally mature because it does change my view of them. I think they're disrespectful and they're stupid because they can't. I just do. I'm sorry. There's one person, we've had a meeting at our church. It's on hiatus right now for 2 years. 2 years. Every Monday. She is late 15 to 20 minutes every single time. And at church, she comes in half an hour late. And it infuriates me. But I'm just like, why does that make me so mad?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what you
care.
got to ask yourself. That's what you got to ask yourself. Because if this is her, this is her.
Infuriates me. And she doesn't work. I'm like, why can't you get here?
Well, it doesn't mean you don't love her. It just means you recognize that she's a moron. That's all.
Oh my gosh, I get so mad. So I know that's something in here. I don't know what it is.
Well,
It's
Alicia,
probably-
here's
know.
the thing, and I get it. If you're on time, if you're late every Sunday morning,
it's disrespectful.
that means you can be on time every Sunday morning. Now, if you're late
Yes.
once in a while, that's one thing. But if you've made a habit of it, you can change that and make a habit of it. Absolutely.
Yes,
Well,
it's a problem. It's
I'm
a
a fan.
problem.
I'm a fan. I have had and these are terrible conversations, but I've had these with people that have done this to me, and I've said, "Do you think it's okay to be late?" I want you to. You've made a commitment to something or someone, right? There's a contract that's been made with somebody or something, a service, whatever it is, and you're late, do you think it's okay? How do you feel about that? Because if you don't honor any of those contracts, and I'll stop. What do you think about that?
They don't care, do they?
Well,
Some do.
A lot don't, though.
Some don't.
A lot of people say this. It's 10 minutes. What does it matter? Life is short.
Right.
You hear that. I hear
Yeah.
that often.
Or they have an excuse. Oh, my dog. Oh, traffic. Oh, this. Oh, that. Then leave 15 minutes earlier.
Well, and then I look at myself and go, does the 10 minutes really matter? Let me be careful. Am I controlling? What is it that
does. Look at
Yes,
our program
yes.
for
It
retreat.
matters. It matters.
It
It
teaches
matters.
respect, and yes, it matters because 10
All right.
minutes there,
Yep.
and then 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there. At our retreat, we would be needing another day.
So let's take a break, and we come back and let's talk
Yeah.
about why it matters. Don't go away. More on this topic. Hey, did you think party time was over just because you got sober? Forget it. Celebrate with me and the incredible recovery community of Lynn County, Oregon, as we gather together for this year's 10th annual Recovery in the Park. Tuesday, July 9th from 5 to 8:30 p.m. at beautiful Bryant Park, Albany, Oregon. Live music, raffles, community resource fair, activities for the kids, and free burgers and dogs. No, not that kind of dog. Come join me and my friend Cindy from Albany Celebrate Recovery as we MC this year's event. It's gonna be a blast! Tuesday, July 9th from 5 to 8:30 at beautiful Bryant Park, Albany, Oregon. Come join us and have a great time and party sober. I dare you.
This is Jonathan Marsh, and you are listening to the Recovery Talk positive music of Take 12 Recovery Radio, home of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
Yes, it is a wonderful thing to be around people that know you and love you and care for you. And, everybody wants that. And for those of us who are living a life as recovered alcoholics, addicts, or whatever, we surround ourselves with people that, even though they may not know our name, it's a fellowship of the Spirit. And it is a wonderful thing. And it is much more spiritually healthy than hanging out at the Cheers bar in Boston.
as long as they're on time?
As long as you're on time. We're talking about emotional maturity. And we left off with why is it important for people to say they're going to be on time, be someplace at a certain time, that they be there. And this is my opinion on why it's important. Because things are a domino in life, right? So when you're late, right, that changes my schedule. My schedule changes that guy's schedule. That guy's schedule, it just goes boom, 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 boom. And though I can't put an unenforceable rule on you because it's unenforceable, it's okay for me to let you know what, Fred? You and your behavior is affecting a whole lot more people than just me and you. There's a whole day's worth of people that are affected by your inability to make it on time. So we're going to have to figure something out here.
So I had I'll say this, my ex-wife, this is years ago, 20 years ago. She was late and I wasn't even remotely mature. I mean, and I would say late is wrong, right? I went that far.
Well, I think
And
it is, but
She said, it's not a right, wrong thing. I said, it is a right, wrong thing. And she would say, what is it? I go when I want to. And I'm like, so it's not a right or wrong thing. It doesn't, like church service goes on. It doesn't matter if I come in late or not. that's not a right or wrong thing. And it was a big contention. And I said, well, no, the schedule, it starts that time. But she said, but I've decided to be late for it. So it's not wrong. It was infuriating to.
Okay, so her being late was her being on time then in her head.
Yeah, she had to do what she had to do. And she got there. It wasn't important to her to honor the time that started. And I was like, okay, well, there's an answer. It wasn't important to you to honor the
I think
organization.
that is signs. I think being late is extreme selfishness in action because they're thinking about themselves.
When it's a regular thing. Yeah, I
and
agree.
it's mismanagement of life too. It's bad time management, and
It totally is. I mean,
You
once in
know.
a while, yes, we're going to be late. But if it's constant, every single time, constant, or more than 50% of the time, it's a problem.
So then we're back to, how do we respond?
To them
Right?
being late.
Because now it's like when I'm working on a first step with somebody, I go, listen, on this resentment inventory, you get to look at their thing one time, never again. Never again. Yeah, but I got one guy right now who's writing all this stuff out, and it keeps going back to, and then I go, no. I already said she in column 1. Well, in the workbook, we're under resentment, the opposite of resentment. Okay, we're moving to the opposite now, buddy. We're not looking at her. We're looking at how this affected you, how you're responding to it, but we're not blaming. Because even if here's the thing, brother, Tom, even if you're right, and you probably are, it's not healthy to blame. It
hurts us.
It hurts
And-
us. It's okay to recognize it and say, this is the thing that's happening. Because, listen, people always do something for a reason. There's always a reason. It may not be the right reason. It may be not what we would do, but there's always a reason. We go, well, there's no reason why they should be late. Yeah, there is. There's a reason. And it may be because they're just irresponsible. It may be because they don't care. It may be because
They don't have time management
they
skills.
don't have good time. But there's a reason. And we can either be helpful in that, or we can turn it inward and let it cause us to be emotionally dependent on them, which we don't want to do that, right?
we don't. I stopped meeting this person at work because of the lateness. So
I think
used
that's a boundary.
I used to meet, and it was
Yeah.
always late and never the word. What I recognized, though, and this is where I wasn't resentful, this person's not actually able to put a time on it because of things that happen at work last minute that really do happen. So this person, the conversation was, it's not possible. I can give you a window, but things happen and I have to stay. It's part of my work. And I went, okay, fair enough. Then I'm not coming because I can't stand standing around. So, but I thought that was a decent resolution to it.
I think so.
It was, I can give you a window, but because of my work, this is an agreement I made with the work. In this case, I can't, just meeting to go home. I can't do it.
I just thought of something. I don't do windows.
I don't do windows, right? I don't do windows. Now, I will say this:
On those windows.
when we have an event at such a time and we have to go someplace, that's where it's like, now you can't have a window for this because like the Broadway play, the doors close and they don't let you in. Like $200 tickets, it's gone if we're late. There's a huge consequence to this one, or there's a train coming or an airplane coming and you can be late, but this one's going to cost us in da-da-da-da-da. So that gives me anxiety when I am against somebody who you've tried to manage how you get affected by their lateness, and then you get sucked into a big consequential situation. Do you get on the plane without him? Well, that's the Ray Romano thing, right? When he went to the wedding without
Yeah.
his
I
wife.
don't know that one. But you
You know.
remind me of something, and this is going to show that I am not emotionally mature with this one topic because
No,
I
you are
forgot
not.
about this, but you reminded me. This one person was supposed to go and watch me speak in Oroville like over a year ago. And knowing she's late every single time, I told her I'm leaving at whatever time, 4 o'clock. I'm leaving at 4 o'clock. I texted her the day before, I'm leaving at 4 o'clock. I'm leaving at 4 o'clock. Of course, 4 o'clock came, she's not there. I'm leaving. So I left, and then I saw her, because driving out, it takes me 10, 15 minutes to get out to where I was. I saw her coming. I could have flagged her down, but I was like, nothing, I'm going. And I just left her because I was pissed.
You showed her.
But 4 o'clock means 4 o'clock. It doesn't mean 4:20. I mean, come on.
Well, we all know what
This is like a
420
hot
means.
topic for me. You can tell.
It's if you guys have any idea where Alicia stands on this,
This nutrition and exercise
well,
don't
this
mess
is why
with me.
Alicia and I get along so well, because we are generally completely aligned on all this.
Just on those things.
So here's the key. Here's the key, though. Again, I think it is appropriate. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to even be angry. You know, the big book talks about anger is for those who can handle it better than we do, right? Well, anger's not a sin. It's how we respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
Anger's an energy. It's got to be released. It's just how do we release it? Do we release it properly? So, and for those of us who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, we probably can handle our anger better than we did before. Whereas before we had no business even going there. But now we can. But what's it do for the rest of our day? If this is affecting the rest of our day, this is totally on us. This has nothing to do with the other person being late.
Mm-hmm.
This has everything to do with us holding on to it so tightly that it is affecting us, and now we're the one that needs to deal with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's turn it around, and I know we're getting towards the end now, but we've been mostly talking about what annoys us, right? How we have to manage our emotions based on somebody not meeting their commitment. No. How do we deal with it when someone else is annoyed with us because we don't do it their way, right? Here's what the other side is. Why are you so upset? We're just walking home. It's 10 minutes. Don't you understand? It's what pays the bills. Hang out for 10 minutes to make a phone call. I can't believe you're so upset about this. It makes me really feel like you're ungrateful. Do you know what I'm doing? I'm not doing widgets. I'm working hard. It's something I had to do. Do you think I'm just doing this on purpose? This is the other side of that comes at that I say, oh. Now, I still would say, yeah, but you didn't honor your time, right? We go right back to that. Then this is where I have to be. This is the line in the sand stuff. All of a sudden, I don't want to sign it. But that's that other side. There's this emotional intelligence is that now I'll say, this is where the other side is going with this. So I understand the emotional. Upset they can't leave on time. Wants to. Wish they could. Couldn't. And then is it going to be annoyed? What do? I either don't wait, or if I wait, I give grace, because does the 10 minutes really matter anything? And this is these things that I would never have gone through, guys, before. I would have just drawn a line and made a fight. Now I consider the feelings of the other person, right, wrong, or indifferent. Consider my feelings. Consider the situation, and then make better decisions based upon it. And I think that's where we're going with all this. As we get better and we recover and we use the tools, we get better at these things as we move through life.
When I
Drop
and
the
this is just me, guys. I don't know about you, but I'll tell you, when I say to you, I don't understand why this upsets you so much. After something I've done. What I'm actually saying is, I'm uncomfortable that you're upset.
Right. Right.
It has nothing to do with me understanding or not understanding. I don't like the fact that you're upset. It makes me uncomfortable. So stop it. Stop being so upset. It's no big deal. Right? But you know what? When I don't validate the way somebody else is feeling, whether it's right or wrong, they shut down. Just like I do when somebody doesn't validate the way I'm feeling. I want you to know that I'm hurt. I want you to know that I'm disappointed or whatever. And when you say, well, that's no big deal, don't be disappointed, then it's like, well, okay. You know, so we have to be careful, I think. You know, if something's important, you know, so here's one for you. Turning off the light when you leave a room. You were talking about dish towels a couple of weeks ago, right? And I thought of this later. So and I don't do this anymore, but when I would leave the bathroom, I would forget to turn the light off. And it drove Marcia nuts. She'd go by, she goes, honey, can you turn the light off when you leave the room? You know, and I'm like, it's just a light switch. You know, it's the only thing I do that irritates you. Right? And so, but here's the thing. Even if it's silly, because I thought it was silly, even if it's silly, it's important to Marcia. And if it's important to Marcia, just because it's important to her, it needs to be important to me.
Great point, Monty. It's not the thing, it's the way it makes them feel.
Right.
I had another one the other day. There's a dish soap put a certain place. And why does it matter? It doesn't. But I don't do that anymore. I went, you like it over there? And that was enough. I can put it over there because you like it. It doesn't matter whether I care or not. But this is maturity. Those are good. Those are things. That's a good thing. Perfect to see. It's because it matters to you. I can do this silly thing that is so stupid that doesn't right.
Yeah. Because if it's no big deal, then turn off the light switch. If it's no big deal,
then turn it off.
Over here. Put the soap over here.
What about people though that aren't
here we go.
very close to us and we don't care about them? We have to put them in that same spot, right? We're supposed to love them.
No, no. Oh no. If we don't care,
No?
we just no. They don't get anything if we don't care about them.
Well, that's how I feel, but
I know. I knew it. So here, let me read a couple things. We didn't get there, but there's some great examples in this email I was looking at about emotional immaturity. These are great examples of kind of what you were saying before, Monty. And here it is. It says, hold on. It says, these were great examples. Of course, I can't make this thing work now. Let me go back. Hold on. All right, here it is. So here's some examples of immaturity. When someone says, why do you always have to be so dramatic? And you truly lack an understanding of the real world. Accusatory. Blame shifting. It's your fault I'm behaving this way. You're too sensitive. How about you're so stupid, Mrs. Martinez? She does use that often. I guess I'm just a terrible person. Why would you want to be my partner again? Well, I don't like this feeling, so you have to fix it. Never mind. Cry for help. Never mind. I won't contact you again. I'll do that. Gaslighting. That's not what happened. I never said that. Oh, you're so needy. How about that? You're so needy. Isn't that one that when someone says that to me, that so pushes me. You're just being needy. But did you hear what I said? Right? It's the light switch. They want to talk about the light switch and not, it doesn't
not
matter.
them being needy. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that video called "It's Not About the Nail"?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So Alicia, it's
Yeah.
just this woman is talking about she's got this horrible headache, and the camera is right up close to her face.
Yeah.
And her husband is trying to tell her how to fix it. So the camera pulls back, and she's got a giant nail in her forehead. And the husband's going, pull the nail out. Pull the nail out. And she goes, it's not about the nail. Because us guys, we think logically, well, A plus B is C, so let's pull the nail out. But she's dealing with emotions and fears, and she wants to talk about what's really going on. All he wants to do is fix it.
I would think it's the nail. Pull the nail out. That's the root.
Well, I have said this, and I've asked this question. I might have even done this to you, Alicia. I've said, listen, I don't need the answer to this. I just need to cry about this for a minute. You just got to let me
Yeah.
just vent. I don't want you to fix it. I just need to let this go. I have also asked that question. Do you want some suggestions, or do you just need to tell me about it? I'm happy to just listen. And even though there's a clear, that comedian says, even though there's an absolutely clear answer to this issue, you don't always want to give it. It's not being asked for.
I have this on
Women
my
do it more, I think.
This is on my computer
Yeah.
because I fix everyone.
Yeah,
They just don't let me fix them.
I think men want the fix more than women want the fix. I think women.
I want the fix. I think I'm the
Maybe
man
that's
of the relationship.
Well, you are.
Well, I think, Tom, for the most part, you're correct, though, and I think it's because of our own immaturity. We don't like it when she is upset. We don't,
Right.
listen, we could play basketball with each other, and the guy elbow us in the eye and give us a black eye, and I want to punch him in the nose, and then 5 minutes later, we're playing basketball again. No big deal. Women aren't like that. My wife's a processor. I want to, if I say something hurtful to her and I realize I've said it, as soon as it comes out of my mouth, I want to fix it. Honey, would you forget? And she's not ready yet. That whole thing about when we're wrong, promptly admit it, doesn't always mean to the person we've wronged. They may not be ready for us to but we want to fix it, Tom. You're right. We do.
And I've learned that I miss what they're saying.
Yeah.
And no empathy. And it's sometimes it's the imago thing. And you just repeat it back. And the last thing you say is, well, then it makes sense that you're upset. And,
Guys,
anyway.
we're out of time. So we have time for closing thoughts. Tom?
That was a good one.
I just want another half hour.
We can do it.
No.
No, it's too long.
It's such a good, I think, conversation. And sometimes, guys, we talk about the fellowships that we're in where we talk about these things and we are able to process them. And a lot of people are not in situations like that. And
That's right.
The whole grateful alcoholic thing, which I usually would never say. But I am grateful that I found a process and a program that has allowed me to even have this conversation with you guys and to be able to process these things today. And I hope if you're in the audience, you found it interesting, you found it helpful. And, maybe if you found like you can't process like at least what we think we're supposed to do, that you can find a system and a way. Maybe it's a retreat that would help you.
Yes, came to believe recovery.org.
There you go, Mrs. Martinez.
I
You're
would
up.
say just ask yourself, audience, are you emotionally mature, and be honest about it, and continue to grow in that process, because we are growing in it. There's maybe certain situations I am emotionally mature and others I'm not, and that's okay. Just keep growing and ask people around you that you trust, and ask them, am I spiritually mature? And listen to what they say, which would be an emotional mature thing to do.
Yeah. Amen. Thanks, guys. Listen, folks, I think you're going to enjoy this. This is a recovery song by recovery recording artist Mr. Mike O'Brien, and he sent this email to me when he sent me a brand new song that he's written. It's called "Let Me Lay It on the Line." He said, based on a talk I had with one of my AA brothers in recent times, we only talk occasionally, but every time we do, we have great soul-searching and heartfelt conversations. The beauty of the program is how so many people from so many walks of life who never would have hung out together when they were drinking can have such fantastic camaraderie when they're sober. Pretty darn cool. I wrote this song the same day we had our phone conversation. So check this out, and then check out my closing thought at the end. Here's Let Me Lay It on the Line by my friend and Take 12 Recovery Radio contributor, Mr. Mike O'Brien.
That was quite the talk, quite the conversation. We really let it out, no stone left unturned. You're a good friend, brother, and I'm glad I know you, 'cause we can lay it on the line. It's easy to lock the door, stay in isolation. Nobody gets to know what's going on inside. But you're a good friend, brother, and I'm glad I know you. You help me lay it on the line. Lay it on the line. Lay it on the line. Yeah, yeah. Can you turn down your mind? Can you open up your heart? Can you break through the wall? Can you let down your guard? You're a good friend, brother, like no other. Let me lay it on the line. Yeah, you're a good friend, brother, and I'm glad I know you. You help me lay it on the line. Lay it on the line. You help me lay it on the line.
The recovery sounds of our good friend, Mr. Mike O'Brien. For more of Mike's music, visit reverbnation.com/Mike O'Brien. I wonder, do you have a circle of friends that allows you to lay it on the line? To be surrounded by a host of caring, supportive people who know all about you and still love you can be a great gift of a healthy recovery community. Folks living in steps 10, 11, and 12, or as we here at Came to Believe Recovery like to refer to as living in the go. You know, we all need fellowship as we learn how to grow up emotionally. It's not always comfortable to admit our emotional immaturity, to be vulnerable with others, and to allow someone into the deepest caverns of our dysfunction. But when we do, we will find that often we are relieved to learn that we are amongst friends who aren't as different from us as we once thought. It's a great relief to know that we are no longer alone and that there is help and support if we but become willing to consider some new ideas. It's something to think about. Came to Believe Recovery strives to create and promote opportunities for life-changing spiritual experiences for individuals and families suffering from all forms of addiction. For more information, help, and support, visit cametobelieverecovery.org. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be your host on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. And I would encourage you to like, bookmark, and subscribe to this show. When you do, you will join the Take 12 Recovery Radio family and will be notified of all of our recovery-focused shows throughout the week. Until our next broadcast, when we provide the essential spiritual tools needed to thrive by sharing our experience, our strength, and our hope through our stories of how we came to believe.
This has been a production of Take 12 Recovery Radio.
Kitty, kitty, kitty. Meow.
Woof, woof.
This has been a Chicken and a Pig production.